How's it going, guys? Joe McDonough here with Cade Side Press. I'm here with UFC Bantamweight Randy Costa. Randy, how are you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Staying sane. First question I got for you. I've been asking every fighter that I've interviewed. We're the world's kind of reopening. America's reopening. But taking back a month or two ago, what are you doing to stay sane in quarantine?
Well, I was supposed to fight March 28th in Columbus. It got canceled on March 16th. So at that point, I had put in about a 7-week fight camp. I dieted, pretty much all the way down to weight, and then the fight got canceled. So instead of being locked down at home in the cold in Massachusetts, I fled down to Florida. And, I spent about 2 weeks feeling bad for myself, eating fucking everything and drinking, bottles of wine every single fucking day for about 2 weeks until I stopped feeling sorry for myself. And then I got back right to training again. So back to normal over here. Everything is normal on my end, with exception to the fact that I have to wear a fucking mask to the grocery store.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, take us through that. I mean, I feel like a lot of fans don't understand what it's like to go through a 7-week camp, to go through training and sparring every day for, months, and then to get the call that it's off. What's going through your head?
Yeah. So, man, before even the stuff actually got canceled. It's in like January and stuff. Around January, the whole coronavirus thing started kind of taking off. Maybe not in the United States, but in other countries. When you're dealing with a virus, you're not dealing with something that's going to contain itself. It's going to travel. It's an invisible enemy. So to me, it was inevitable that the fight was going to get canceled. I had a good idea the fight was going to get canceled about 6 weeks before the fight actually got canceled. So it was definitely in the back of my head. I was 100% focused on the fight, 100% focused on Martin Day, but I had this feeling that the fight just was not going to happen. The fight officially got canceled on March 16th, but on like March 10th, I started having a pretty good idea the fight was off. I was following I was supposed to fight in Ohio, in Columbus, and the governor was starting to cancel things. Schools were starting to get canceled, and my thought was that there's no way you can have schools getting canceled, but have an event with 20,000 people in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it was going to happen. I didn't mind the fact that I put in all the hard work. I like training. I like grinding in the gym. I like getting my ass kicked. The biggest thing for me was the dieting. I'm a bigger 135. I'm a bigger bantamweight. At that point, I had dieted down, about 25 pounds. So that's a lot of fucking hard work, determination, and resilience. Those days where you just kind of want to fold up and just fucking eat everything. I had to get up and go for my run and do this, that, and the other thing, all while in the back of my head not even knowing if the fight was going to happen. So the whole thing about putting in the entire camp, training so hard, that wasn't a big deal to me. The big deal for me was dieting so hard and staying so disciplined in the kitchen, because man, that's the hardest fucking part.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like you said, you're down in Florida. I've seen on your Instagram story you're down in Florida. Are you training at American Top Team right now?
I am training at American Top Team right now. I've been training there for about a month at this point. Everyone's fantastic over there. I have awesome training partners. The coaches are great. Everyone's been super welcoming. My initial concern with going into that gym was that I didn't know how I would be treated. I didn't know if I would be treated as kind of like an enemy. I didn't know if I would have a cold shoulder. Cold shoulders thrown at me, if I would have it on my back, but it's been nothing but pleasant. Everyone has been fucking awesome there, super welcoming, open arms, and extremely helpful, man. I'm in a good spot right now for sure.
Absolutely, and American Top Team being one of the best gyms in the world, really. I'm assuming that's because Lausanne's is closed down right now.
Right. Yeah. But not even necessarily just Lausanne's, but Massachusetts was the last state to open up. American Top Team, the whole state of Florida is a fucking circus as is. So there's a small brief window where gyms were closed. Essential workers in Florida pretty early in the pandemic. So I've been able to train for a long time now because of that mandate.
So that being said, I mean, have you been in talk with the UFC? Can we see you in this summer? I mean, I think a lot of people are excited to see you back in the cage after that win at UFC Boston.
1,000%, no doubt about it. Goal remains the same. I want at least 2 fights this year still. At least. I would like 3 fights. I would like to bang one out, get a big win, and then another big win after that, and then a third fight. At minimum, I want 2 fights this year, period, back to back. I want to fight ASAP, and then again towards the end of the year. I am going to fight 2 times this year. There is no fucking doubt about it. I haven't even scratched the surface. Age is on my side. Man, I'm going to be a force to reckon with. I'm training with a bunch of savages now. I'm just so fucking hungry to get back in there.
Absolutely. And do you have anyone in mind? Is there a date that you're looking at? I mean, I think we're all excited for this.
We've just begun talks with the UFC.
Okay.
We are talking about an opponent. I'm not going to say what that opponent is or who that opponent is, just because I don't want it to get jinxed. I love the fight. It's a very, very exciting fight. But we're shooting for like that late August, September area. We'll see what happens, man. I'll be ready.
Awesome. And so take us back to UFC Boston. Your last win, your win against Boston Sam. And on that night, Joe Lozon also returns to the UFC and gets a win. I mean, you've had months now to kind of look back on it. I mean, how happy does it make you, just to think about it, you and Joe winning on the same night?
It's still not real. I have the chills right now thinking about it. The whole night, it couldn't have been written down better. I went in there, I got the job done right away. My job, essentially was on the line. I went in there against someone who had a lot of hype behind them. Boston is an awesome dude. I have nothing but respect for him. He is a savage fighter. His boxing is unbelievable. He's tricky. He's a southpaw and unreal wrestling. I stuffed every single takedown, and I essentially beat him in his own game. I didn't really get touched that fight. I had the fight, won from start to finish. And I think I kind of showed like what kind of force I am, or what kind of force I'm going to be to reckon with. And to top that off, I get that quick win, and then we have Lozon. I walked into Lozon's gym about 10 years ago at this point, 9 years ago. He took me under my wing right away, right the fuck away. I owe everything to him. Never did I even imagine fighting at in the same under the same show as him. Never mind on the same night as him. And to think that that maybe that could be his last fight ever, and that could be my first big UFC win ever. That could be my breaking into the UFC, and that could be his exit in the UFC, out of the UFC.
Yeah,
man, it's just I don't really have words. It was just a fucking picture perfect night.
And I mean, to add on to it, you're in the TD Garden, and a place that you've gone to Bruins games and Celtics games for your whole life. You're a Boston guy. I mean, does that add anything to it?
Man, if I had won my UFC debut in Atlanta, it wouldn't have meant nearly as much. I got to go out there and win in the fucking arena that I used to go and watch, the Celtics play with my father, the Bruins games, and stand there right in the middle of TD Garden and hold Devin Terry's picture up in the middle of the fucking garden in front of his family on live ESPN. Man, it would not have meant nearly as much if that was anywhere else in the world or if that was my debut. Everything was written perfectly, man. Everything was written fucking perfectly.
And that brings me to the next question. You've come and you've brought Devin Terry's picture with you along this ride. You've talked about how you both were going to make it to the UFC, and you're bringing him along. And I speak for, I think, everyone in the sense of that we hope that continues every weigh-in, every post-win, that you're holding that picture. Is that the plan?
Dude, I would not even had a professional fight if it weren't for him. I would not have made it to the UFC if it weren't for him. I swear to you, dude, I would never have taken another fight if I didn't give him my word before he passed away. If he was still alive, I wouldn't be fighting. I'm doing this because I owe it to him, I owe it to myself, and I owe it as a man of my word, as a friendship between us. I said I was gonna fucking do something, before he passed away. He passed away. Now I have no choice. I can't take that back. I can't bring him back at this point. So now it's my turn. I'm not. It's not about me, man. I don't give a fuck. The fighting is cool, and it's so cool that I'm able to bring my best friend along with me through the entire ride. He will be there through every single fight week, and it doesn't matter what time you stop me on fight week. I will have his picture on me, and that's a promise.
That's amazing, man. And so, speaking on, like you said, you were 3-0 when you signed with the UFC. You lost your first fight. You felt like you were fighting for your job. Someone who just came into the UFC at 5-0 was Max Roskoff. When he signed, I spoke with him, and we talked about you. We talked about how most people don't get signed at 5-0, and a guy that did was Randy Costa at 3-0. What's your take on that whole fight? The his corner, everything about that. Him saying he didn't want to fight anymore. What's your take on that?
So I was 4-0 when I got signed. But about Max, how do you say his last name?
Roskoff.
Man, he took it on a week's notice. He doesn't. you can't give him any negative credit at all. The dude stepped in on short notice against, what was it, Austin Hubbard, right? You know, that boy can fight. That boy is good. You know, Max, he's had, you know, a couple local fights. This is a fucking completely different game. He went in there fighting someone on a full camp. You know, they had X amount of fights and probably more fights in the UFC than he's had fights. Man, people can say whatever they want about Max and his corner, this, that, the other thing. Dude, I get it. And honestly, it takes a lot of fucking nuts even to walk up those stairs. You know, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't fucking be a crybaby. He literally he broke, and he didn't break because he wasn't the better fighter. He wasn't getting outworked. He didn't get outclassed. You know, he simply just, his inexperience showed. That dude, he has a ton of fucking potential, man. He has a ton of fucking potential, and you know, I don't have a single bad word to say about him or his corner or any of it. You know, Max made a decision that night. Mac's gonna have, you know, he's gonna have to deal with that decision that he made, and I'm sure it's eat him alive. But man, he's gonna fucking grow from it. And unlike, I'm sure, a lot of people, I'm very excited to see, you know, how much growth that's gonna do for him. People saying a lot of shit about me when I lost my debut too. Man, if I could offer him any words, just, you know, fuck what people have to say and go out there in your next fight and show them that, you know, why you know, you have this hype, why you belong. You know, you have Max Holloway, he got in at 4-0. You have Weidman, you know. People can say whatever the fuck they want. The UFC saw something in him that, you know, that is obviously very apparent. People can say politics and you know, knowing these people to get you in the UFC and win a lottery ticket, that's the other thing. It doesn't fucking matter. His experience is what lost him the fight. His talent is there, dude, and I'm sure he's gonna have a very, you know, very promising future.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more, man. And so, you know, since coronavirus has started, we've seen some crazy fights. We've seen some crazy fights in the bantamweight division. I mean, have you had a favorite fight that you've watched as, you know, as a fan?
As a fan, that Burgos fight was fucking silly. The Calvin Kattar knockout was fucking silly. Man, there were a lot of, you know, the Gaethje and Ferguson fight. There's a lot of fucking good fights, and even like the in quotes shitty cards. Man, those fights are still, you know, coming out there performing as well, man. It's the cage. I'm telling you, it's the cage and the no audience. People are just fucking fighting it out. You're losing. I don't know how many like square feet you're actually losing, but you're losing, you know, 5 feet off each, you know, side of the octagon.
Yep, smaller cage.
I'm no mathematician, but that sounds like 40 square feet to me. You know, that's a lot of fucking room. And you're forcing these guys to fight. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to run and escape and point fight unless you're like a, you know, a 125 or a 135er. But anything over 45, man, you're a big guy. You know, you're forced to fucking fight, and it's super, super exciting. You know, I think it's great for the sport, especially when it's the only live sport that's on. You're forcing these guys to fight, and you know, it's making the brand grow. I think it's a good move. I would like to see the bigger cage coming back, of course, but for all circumstances, man, it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I mean, adding in that with no fans, the only good part about that is you can hear every punch, and it's pretty insane. So my last question for you is, what do you got planned for the 4th of July? Anything? You know, you gonna have a fun day ahead of you? You know, doing anything?
I had a savage practice this morning. I hit some mitts, and then I did about 6 5-minute rounds MMA with Ricky Bandejas. So I had my work cut out for me this morning. Heading up to I'm leaving the Fort Lauderdale area right now and head up to the Orlando area. My family just got into town, so I'm gonna hang out with them for the weekend, or for the night. You know, everything stays the same, man. I'm not gonna be drinking, not gonna be partying. I'm in fight camp mode at this point, man. I'm gonna relax, you know, hang out, take a nice rest day tomorrow, a nice earned rest day. Man, all things stay the same, man. I'm just fucking ready to go.
Awesome, Randy. Happy 4th of July, man. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, what's next for you, and hopefully seeing you at the end of the summer, early fall.
Happy 4th, Joe. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy.